All right, let's be right official here with how do we want to do this? The North American Hyrox champion. Is that right? That's right, isn't it?
Is it that's in North American Hyrox Open? Is
Open,
it
but
because
you're not the open champion.
yeah, but not the open weights, but it's called like the Open.
I
What was
know.
the actual?
It
Hmm,
doesn't make any sense. It's
why
like
don't we
it's
just
become,
call?
it's like it got lost in translation from German and now it makes no sense.
Yeah, no. I mean, I understand. They're like it's like the U.S. Open and the Australian Open, like I guess that kind of stuff with golf and tennis or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
but
But
in this, yeah,
I still think
but
it's
that's me. I
it should be the open anyway. Like it should be open. Everybody should be able to. Yeah, you and I are on the same wavelength. We talked about that before. Like,
mhm,
like how the qualifies system. So you know what a difference 3 weeks makes,
crazy, huh?
right? Like 3 weeks ago, I like we would chat online and it was like you were kind of in this space of will you even be able to get to race in a major again?
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of how it felt. I was sitting at like 26. And it was really a question of, how many people are going to say, I don't want to make that trip. We just had Vienna on, I guess the ninth or something like that, whatever that date was, maybe the 10th. But I was like, oh, we just had Vienna. Maybe I don't want to travel across. And I mean, I had enough guys that opted to stay home that got me in. I think I was 13th out of 15 because it rolled back. It rolled down to two other people and Gabe Heck and ended up going to Jake Williams and got in. But I was sitting there going, well, I'm just going to go race the go ruck race, I guess. And I mean, I even had it in my head to the point that I was kind of so mad at the system that if it would have been like, you're going to get in, but it's going to preclude you from racing go ruck, I might have just stuck the middle finger and said, I'm doing go ruck. Fuck y'all. Um,
Mhm.
just because it aggravated me. I was like, this is a frustrating system. I don't like it. Um, but luckily, they placed the race on Friday. If it would have been on Friday night or if it would have been on Saturday morning, I would have raced it. If it would have been like another way around, I might have just opted to race Go Ruck and not race that at all. So I'm very happy that the timing worked the way it did, and I'm very happy that I train in the ludicrous way that I do because it allowed me to do both and do
Yeah.
well.
So I mean, jump back. So like we said,
Oh yeah.
3 weeks ago, you were like sitting 26th, whatever. You were right there and like wondering about getting into a major at all. So then you go to Fort Lauderdale
Hmm.
and Fort Lauderdale, and you just turn it on. Did you feel that was coming? Because you've had a couple of efforts that I would say were not where you wanted them to be.
Yeah. So if we look back, like again, there's so much space between races, in particular between like Fort Lauderdale to when I raced in Chicago was, well on 3 months and change.
Mhm.
Um, and if we go back to the start of my season, the start of my season was over in Sweden in Malmo. And that was what got me a time of 58:48 on a course that I would say was pretty difficult. I mean, the sled pushes and pulls there were heavy. My legs felt terrible trying to run. I was not running well at all. Um, and still hit a 58:48. And I was like, all right, with how I felt that day and performing the way I did, I was like, okay, I'm pretty fit. And I was pretty excited going into Chicago, honestly. And thought that based on some of the workouts I did, I had a good shot. Um, Unfortunately, leading into that week, my son got sick. I got sick. And that stomach virus, as much as I didn't want to be like, oh, I'm sick going into a race, I tried to block it out. But that was the beginning of literally being sick for 3 weeks straight. Getting into stomach virus and then to a sinus infection that went for all the way into Decafit Worlds. To where if you would have talked to me in Dallas the weekend after Chicago when I went down there and raced doubles, like by then I had been coughing so hard that I barely had a voice left.
Yeah.
Um, I sounded terrible and just hacking up green stuff. And when your lungs aren't really operating, that's kind of hard for a very heavily aerobic sport.
Yeah.
And I mean, I still look at those performances and I'm like, damn, you were not really healthy and you were still kind of throwing down. Um, so I looked at that and I was like, well, I'm fit. I still believed I was fit. Um, and went into, that down period in between basically Dallas and Deca Worlds and stuff. Um, and then getting to Fort Lauderdale. And what really boosted my confidence was actually the weekend before. So the weekend before was we were having my son's birthday in Charlotte, North Carolina, which was about halfway between where we live and where our family lives. So we're all going to meet up there. Well, that morning they had a race. They had a 15K that morning, and the party was that afternoon. So I was like, "Oh, cool, let's do this. I'm gonna race the 15K in the morning. We're already gonna be there." And then my wife Maria, she ran the 10K and put him in the stroller. And so we're like, "Hey, we'll do a little birthday race." And so I went out and ran over a pretty hilly course incredibly well. Like my legs felt amazing, my running felt on point, and I just went out there and split 5K, 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 and 17:10, 17:10, 17:10. I was like, man, this is the best my running's ever felt. And I knew at that point that I was pretty strong on my stations. I had just done a 1 hour ski test where I averaged 148 high for an hour. And I was like, well, I'm strong there. I know I'm moving sleds okay, and my running's really good. So I went into Fort Lauderdale like, let's see what happens. And we get there and the sleds are moving really quick, particularly on the push. The pull was kind of, middle ground, but my running felt insane. I felt like I would get off the whatever station I was on, and by the time I got through a quarter of the lap, it was like, all right, you want to dial it up, go. And that's how it felt the entire race. You want to dial it up, go. Even by the time I got to sandbag lunges, it was just step, 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 step. And I kept waiting for, like something to hit and hurt. And other than just I'm perpetually slow at the wall balls. I've gotten better, but I'm still like four low. And at this point, the sport has progressed to where it needs to be 340s. And I'm still in that 405, 410 range. But I walked out of Fort Lauderdale and I was like, well, that was awesome. Um, and I looked back at everybody else's races and I saw a couple people race faster than normal. But I also saw a couple people race exactly the same as they had raced at like, particularly I looked at, Jesse Bruce.
Yeah.
I looked at his L8 time and I looked at this time. And I don't know how well his preparation was, but just recently coming off of that, he ran like a 114 half marathon, a 16 low 5K. Like he was fit.
Oh yeah, he's
Um,
always fit.
yeah. And so I saw that he ran the same time as LA. And then I looked at, Mark, and I looked at the time that Mark Olsen had run in Chicago. I looked at the time here; they were pretty close together. I'm like, well, this is an absurdly fast course. Um, so I walked away thinking, all right, I got a little help on the sleds. That's a 56.
Yeah.
It's 55:34, I think, but I was like, that's good for a 56. Uh, and so it was just a question of, I think a lot of people were like, well, how are you going to race, on a Saturday and then come back 6 days later and give another good performance? I'm sitting there thinking, well, I raced 7 days before this. A race that took 52 minutes and it was flat out running on asphalt. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I could turn it. Um, and so my body, recovered quickly. I did one more kind of hard day on Tuesday and then really dialed it back, repeated the same taper, maybe a little bit easier leading into Friday night that I had done leading into Fort Lauderdale, and came out Friday, and honestly in the warm up didn't feel as good as I wanted to.
Mhm.
My legs didn't feel as snappy. I didn't feel like I had the same kind of pop that I'd had down at Fort Lauderdale, to be honest. And like I was talking to Maria beforehand, she's like, "How do you feel?" I was like, I kind of wish I felt better. Um, but the race started, and I went out and did exactly what my race plan was, which was I'm going to go to the front, be in that front pack. If somebody's really, really aggressive running, I'll let them go. But I'm not going to let a group of three or four go.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go ski, and I'm going to ski 143, and we're going to sit on that and let that fall out where it does. Um, and then when we get to the push, we're gonna just eye up whoever the first couple of guys are and match them. Just match the push. And if you lose a couple of seconds, that's fine. I think you can run it back. And I had said beforehand that if I come out of the burpees first, everybody's in trouble. Um, and I came out of the burpees first. And so yeah, from there it was just a feeling of I have to keep building this lead. I ran terrified the whole time that I was like, I know right now this is, they finally got the filming down. It looks good. Yeah. And it's right here on me. Am I about to have the biggest implosion in Hyrox history as the lead grows? So I'm running. And Maria told me after, she's like, I was waiting on you to like start smiling and waving, but you looked scared the whole time. And I said, babe, I was scared the whole time. I said the whole time I'm running, and I go, what? Like they're started yelling out the lead. They're like 24 seconds. And I'm just thinking, no, that's not good. And then they go, it's 40 seconds. And I go, that's not enough yet. They're like, you're up to a minute. And I'm like, I need to get a lap on everybody.
Yeah.
Um, and so when I finally got a lap and I come in and I pass by Rich Ryan, um, and I just look over at him and go, "What's up, motherfucker? It's me." And he starts laughing and I start laughing and then I just dip in. I'm like, "Get to these sandbag lunges and get to those wall balls, and you'll be out of here." And by the time I think somebody else got there, I might have been 60 in or something like that. And so I think I split it like 65, 78, 95, 5, and finished out. Um, and I dropped it with 5 to go. And my ref was like yelling at me. She's like, pick it up. And I look over at her and I go, it's okay. I think we're good. And I like, and I know that, and she starts laughing. And I know that she was just like trying to motivate me to finish. And I was like, no, 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 no. I'll just compose myself so I can barrel roll across the finish line and do finger guns. Like, we're good. So yeah, dude, it's been a crazy 3 weeks.
And so we were watching when you and obviously you see it from a different perspective, but so I'm watching it, watched it live, and then I watched it again too. Your running looked so strong like the whole time. And then like you say, when you were lapping like second and third place, and we know Rich Ryan's a great runner, and you just cruising by him. And I mean it, and he was having a hell of a race too. And it was
Hmm.
just, it was you. I mean, you might not have felt very confident until that point, but the way you were running after the Burpee broad jumps, I was pretty confident. I was like, holy crap. I said, he's having, because I watched the stream of you in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm like, he looks exactly the same. Like the run looks
Hmm.
just like it. And I'm like, he is going to fly the rest of this thing. So the only thing that I never know about, like, say, is your wall balls. They're not, it's good. It could be. But I knew your lunges were super strong in Fort Lauderdale, so I expected that to be the
Hmm.
same thing again. So I was like, yeah, we're on it. We're like screaming. It was great. And wait, say one thing. I mean, their coverage now is so good, so
Oh,
fantastic, man. Like it's got to
it,
be
it,
nice to get back and watch that.
oh, dude, it was great. Of course, I watched it the next morning.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I watched. I sat down and there because I didn't sleep at all, barely that night. So like we get, everything wraps up. We leave the arena around 10. I get home and I'm like, well, I got to race the next day. Thank goodness it wasn't until like 1 o'clock.
oh,
So I get home and I start, carb loading back up, start drinking fluids. And I think I finally fell asleep around 1 o'clock. Um, and then 5 a.m., wide awake. I'm like, I look over and I'm like, man, I did not want to be, I did not want to be here right now. Like my alarm was set for 8:15. Like I would have liked 7, but no, I'm wide awake. So, I get up and I watch the women's race and then I get on the bike for an hour and pedal just easy, just getting the legs woke back up, watch the men's race back. And I remember watching Vienna and turning to Maria at the house. And I was like, this coverage is so good. Like, I got to get into a major just so I could be on TV a little bit. Like, and so the whole time I get into the lead and I'm running and I see that camera on me. Let me tell you, Dave, the inner narcissist in Dylan is like, I am getting so much screen time, baby. I'm like,
insert
I will get to
sponsor
work.
here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm off. I'm also like, I mean, of course, I finished, and one of the first people I grab is my son and sweat all over
Yeah.
him, which he's used to it by this point. Um, I'm thinking, yeah, as long as this lives on the internet, when he gets older, and they ask about, well, what was your dad like? Like, bro, I got you. I got you. He'll probably think it's lame. He'll probably be like, my dad, yeah, you're still a bum. But at the same time, it'll be cool because like I don't have anything that I can go back and watch with my dad, like
Yeah.
winning a national championship. I don't know anything about that kind of stuff. So I think it's gonna be really cool that if he gets older and starts getting into competitive sports, and it's like, oh man, what do you know about this stuff? I'll be like, sit down, let me show you.
It was like I said, it was amazing to watch. They put on a great show. I I didn't realize though the next day I didn't know you were going into the ruck, right? And I'm
uh,
like, this is very intriguing to me because I think I'm gonna try the ruck in New York. And
yeah,
I was like, okay, and then I watch you do it, and obviously going into that, Jarrett Newby pretty much acknowledged as like the fastest man on the planet carrying weight,
yeah,
and so, obviously heavy favorite. So when I'm watching you run with him, and okay, so we said Hyrox was amazing on the regular coverage. They dropped the ball on this ruck thing because those were both
yeah, not
men's
great.
and women's great races, and would have loved
Yeah,
to have seen both of those happen, even if it was just a one, an old school Graham, one dude following with
yeah,
his phone, anything would have been great instead of having to jump feed to feed to feed to feed to try to find it. But watching you run with him and you're like, holy crap, like Dylan's fucking dialed in. Like running, being able to, to hang with Jared on that.
yeah. I mean, I would say I could run at 98% of what he was doing. He was gapping me,
Yeah.
and I mean, I lost by 2 seconds. And what really sucks is there's a point in the race that and this is one thing that I knew trying to double like this was going to be a problem was abdominal cramps.
Hmm.
That's always an issue for me, especially when I start getting, really dehydrated. Um, and coming out of the burpee broad jumps, you're sweating so hard. Like that's the longest 3.5 minutes trying to do those damn burpee broad jumps with that vest on.
Hmm.
Um, and so I get out of that and I can just tell I'm just sending out fluids, sending out salts. And we get to the row, and about 300 meters into the row, I feel that side stitch start to lay in. And I know that if it sets, if it goes 100%, I'm walking. Like I can't run. It won't let me. So we get off the rower. Oh, hold on. Sorry.
No worries.
So we get off the rower, and that side stitch is about, it's about 80% in there. So I just reach up under my vest and take my thumb and push it in and twist. And I run the whole next run with my thumb just digging into my side to try to grind this sucker out. And I'm like, if I can just get it I had to slow down because I started playing damage control. I
Hmm.
started going, I don't think I can catch him, especially not with this cramp. I can't run that fast. But I can't, if I let this cramp work all the way in, I'm going to walk and I'm going to start getting caught.
Yeah.
So I dialed the pace back, and that's probably my slowest run. Maybe the one after the lunges, but if we look at run number, I guess 6, should be slower than most of them because I'm just in there with my thumb just digging. I'm like, come on, stupid cramp, let go. And finally, after that third lap, I get into the farmer's carries and I'm able to start walking, and I can get the breathing a little bit more under control, and it lets out. And so once I put those kettlebells down, I'm like, oh, thank you. Um, so that's when I was like, okay, I can go be aggressive. So I started running hard again after that, and I was like, all right, the cramp is gone, we're gonna be okay. Um, and started trying to catch him on the lunges, but I probably lost 15 seconds to 20 seconds on that run right there. And so you had that, and then you had the culmination right there at the end. We end up matching at the same number of wall balls,
That was a
and
little
we finished.
confusing at the end. Like I actually thought you passed him.
Yeah, so I got a no rep. Um,
Okay.
I got a no rep at some point between like 87 and 93. And because it got so loud and my judge was a little too far away, I had no clue what he was saying.
Okay.
So I have no clue what my count is. So I stop and drop the ball and turn around just so I can see his counter because I can't hear him. And
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, if I just do, and I look and I see 93 on the board. So I'm at 93, And right at that point, Jarrett does one. He's at 93 and he's going down as I'm about to pick up. And so we get dead in sync at that point. And then it's just he happens to be 2 steps ahead of me because he's right there. Um, so I wish that I could have heard stuff. I don't think I didn't have to break. I think I could have just done those next seven and been okay. But all that said, that's sport.
Yeah.
You know, that's sport. If you think about like teams when they play away games, what's the problem here?
Yep.
It's too damn loud. Sound is an issue, and you just have to take it for what it is. And so, like, I finished, and Jarrett, he's got me. I'm like, he's got 3 steps on me, and I'm not going to close that in 15 meters. Um, and so I get on stage, I go over to him and kind of like put my hand on him, like, you some bitch. Um, I'm like, great job. And then the competitor comes out in me. I got to take the ruck off, and then I realize like I lost my 2 seconds and just start dropping the F bomb. Because I'm just passionate, you're just passionate. Like, and I get about five of them out, and then I'm like, okay, we're good. We're good. And from there, it's just I look at it and I go, I just went toe to toe with like the best ruck runner in the world at this. The day after going 56, nobody's even come close to an hour before, and we both just went an hour and 40 something seconds. That ain't bad.
Oh yeah, nobody. You're the first person to push him on anything like that. Like I haven't
Yeah.
seen him pushed at any kind of like at a deca ruck or any kind of. I haven't even seen anyone push him. He's just coasted. That's the first time
Yeah.
I've
And
seen
I,
him have to work.
I had calculated fresh that I could go 58 something
Hmm.
is what I thought I was capable of. And so I think it's fair to say that with a race the day before, you know, giving back 2 minutes and change is probably what I gave up just because I didn't have the speed to run. Like my legs were just flat. Um, but still, it was great to get out there and compete with him and compete with the other guys because that go up field was not a soft field.
Oh no, that's what I mean. It was they should have streamed that thing. It was great, and the women's field too. They were both amazing. That would have been awesome to watch.
The women's field was it was funny. I was talking to Vivian about it, and she said we started and Lauren went out hot, and I said I ain't fooling with that. She said I'm not fooling with that today, and she said I'm just running this for second, I guess.
Well, I like when I heard the names in it. I mean, I'm some of them. I'm like, have these people even ever run a ruck deck or high rocks before? Like, I don't think they have. And it was just cool to see. It was great names, and like I said, a bit of a missed opportunity. Hopefully, they realize that for the next time.
Yeah, yeah, I would think so. I mean, I think it definitely has um it has a place within Hyrox racing. At least here in America. I know they don't have it over there in Europe just because of sponsorships. Um, but I mean, it was cool. You saw a lot of Europeans hop in to do it.
Yeah. The only thing I don't get about it is why don't they do the pro weights in it?
Good question. I don't know, but let me tell you, I'm completely fine with that because I did practice with a 20-pound vest and a 20-pound wall ball. Oh, Dave, I don't like it. I should do it more, but I don't like it.
I find for me because I'm just so slow at it anyway, the vest hasn't seemed to make much of a difference. It's pretty much
Oh,
the same deal.
no, it's not fun. I mean, I already have a terrible wall ball position. It's ugly. And now you put weight on it and like extend the ball out further in front of me. And these long femurs are pushing me this way. The ball's pushing me that way. And I just look like a human rocking chair. It's terrible, man. Um,
Yeah, yeah, watching the last one, it was the only time you look kind of awkward. The rest of the time, you're just like Dylan is flowing, and then you get to the wall balls, and he's
oh
like,
yeah.
oh, he's back.
Like, oh, there he is. There he is. Like, I look like a giraffe doing a chest pass. It's terrible.
At least you don't have to throw it that high.
That's true. 10 feet's not that bad.
Yeah, it was like I said, it was something to watch. So now, I mean, imagine before you were probably eyeing up the LCQ. Obviously now, not a necessary thing. So what happens now? Do you actually get to taper? You're gonna like slow down a bit, get ready, kind of periodize, get all set for Worlds?
Hold on, give me a second.
No
Everything
problem.
cut out. All right, say that one more time. Starting
Okay.
with you were on the LCQ.
Yeah. So you were eyeing up the LCQ. That's
Yeah.
obviously not necessary now.
No.
Can you guys even run the LCQ?
No.
I didn't think so. I didn't think, which is good. I think that's great. That's smart
Yeah,
move by Hyrox. So now you periodize, get all ready straight through to Nice.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, like, so I'm going out to Port Angeles, Washington next weekend, and me, my boss, and another guy, we're doing a 3-man 80-mile relay. So I'm gonna go run some. I'm gonna go run some big-ish miles. I think my total like legs are gonna be like 27 or so. So I'll go do that. Um, and then I mean, I really won't have anything else competitively that I can think of until June, which honestly is a good thing. I'm completely fine with having like pretty large hiatuses between races, because mentally and emotionally, man, they're super taxing. Um, and it's not just like taxing on me as an individual, it's taxing on my wife. As we try to, sort out, like they all came up to DC. And so, I mean, the whole time, like the focus is on Dylan's got a race. But I mean, we got a 1-year old. And let me tell you, 1-year old doesn't care what's
They
going
don't
on.
care. Yeah.
1-year old does not care. He does not care about when you go to sleep. He doesn't care about when you get up. He doesn't care about you got to race at this time. He's got needs, and whatever those needs are, they got to be met. And if I'm not the one that's going to be taking care of them, she is. And so whenever things are very like hyper focused on Dylan's got to be doing this, well, a lot of responsibility falls on her. And it starts to become, if you have a lot of races all piled together, or I have a lot of work obligations, or even, it's been hectic just leading into this. We had my mom, her husband died like on the 18th of February. So immediately we go from celebrating our son's birthday to we got
Yeah.
to get home, help her, we got to plan a funeral, get all affairs in order. She's grieving. So leading up through this was not like it wasn't smooth.
Yeah.
Um, it was a lot of playing roles, supportive roles. And then, when I leave to go race Miami, she's still there. Now she's playing mom and supportive role. So it's just been a big 3-4 weeks where we're at the end of it. And it's like, good, I don't want to race again until June.
Yeah.
Like we need some time. And so I'm very happy that I don't have to fly to Anaheim in May. Uh, that was a huge weight off my shoulders.
When you talk about kind of like being the parent thing, racing with your kids there, right? Doing that. And everybody, and as a parent, I've been there, I competed and had my son present and stuff like that, my daughter. And there's nothing better than your kids seeing you cross the line, maybe being there, getting a medal. It's fantastic. It's an epic experience. But like I tell Bethany this all the time. She's like, "Oh, I might bring the kids to Worlds." And I'm like, "Don't." I'm like, I know you and your kids have seen you race a lot and they do and it's great and it's so emotional. But if you really, really want to win, it's so hard because even if, like you say, you might have the greatest partner in the world
Mm-hmm.
and they're willing to do everything with that kid. But even if they are, you're still thinking about it. And if
Oh yeah,
you're thinking about it, like even if I got it, I got it, I got him. You sleep. No, it's still there. It's still in your head. And then that plays on you. And that's why I've always said, like, as cool as it is to have him there, tell him to just show up for the race and that's it. You know?
yeah. I mean, it is that way. And I'll say, going into Chicago, like they came with me for that. That didn't go smooth.
Mhm.
Chicago, we had, she was super stressed. He was, he wasn't doing that great, getting over being sick, and the energy coming in Chicago was tough.
Yeah.
And you can feel that as a competitor. And of course, you don't be like, oh, you know what, you made my race go bad, because
No.
you don't feel that way, but the stress is there. And as much as you try to compartmentalize it and put it aside, the stress is there, and they're not to blame for it, but that whole dynamic is the source of it. But that's just being a parent and life and being married and being a competitive athlete. All right, fuck it, you got to deal with that stuff. Um, and so like we have every intention of all coming to France. I'm not leaving them at home. I'm not leaving her home. She'd kill me. She'd be like, "You're going to Europe without me again." You got some papers to sign when you get back, brother. I'll be coming home, and I'm like, all right, man, do. Um, so we'll all go over there, and I got to say, even if there is some, a little bit of extra added stress, it is so worth it. It's so worth it at that. Like when I crossed that finish line and I was like, I know exactly who I'm going to right now. Um, Man,
Or like you say, the fact that's on video and it's online, it'll live forever and he'll get to see it. It'll be something.
yeah. And it's funny because I think about the very first Hyrox race I did was in April of 2021. And I remember as I was getting ready to race, I had flown down there by myself. And at that point, Maria and I had been together for about a year. And I remember warming up and like I just emotionally something hit me. And I just started crying. I was standing there warm, and I just started crying. And I thought about it, I was like, why am I crying right now? And the reason is I was like, I'm here doing this, but I'm not sharing it with anybody.
Mhm.
Person's not here. And from there is when I think that was one of the moments that I realized that like it doesn't really matter what I achieve if I achieve it by myself. I'm not gonna be happy. Um, I'm not gonna be happy if I'm not sharing this with other people. Um, and that happened early in my career in this sport. And from that, it's been I don't just want this to be a Dylan experience. I want my family to be a part of it. Because without that, it's not a complete experience.
I I get you. I remember one of my race highlights, and I mean, I can't pick world championships and North American championships and stuff that I won, so I got to take what I can. But when I qualified for OCRWC and got to run in the 3K in the pro wave, and when I crossed the finish line, not last. um, Rye was there and she gave me my medal and did that whole thing. And I'm like, that was a big thing for me. So I'm like, I get what you're saying. You're putting it out. Those moments get made more special when you share them.
Oh, 100%. It's whatever that saying is. It's like problems shared or problems halved. And then it's oh, what is it? It's like joys shared or joys doubled, something to that effect. And that's very true. Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel about this whole thing. So yeah, for us, we go back home. I keep training like a maniac, and work on some of the weaknesses that I have that I still need to shore up so that I can get to that last 8 minutes of the race and feel confident there, as opposed to running the first 48 minutes scared out of my mind that I'm going to blow the last eight. Um, and then of course, oh, and then of course from there we'll also have a little foray into coaching now. And during that time, I look forward to getting back into that. Because in the past I coached at a collegiate level doing some assistant coaching for cross country and stuff. And it's always been something that I loved, just working with people, helping them develop, you know, finding somebody, particularly a motivated individual, is like, hey, I want to get better. And I just feel like if you work with me, we're gonna look at the holes there. You're not gonna train like me. I'm not gonna ask you to train like me. You're not me, you're you. So let's figure out what things get the best adaptations out of you. What's the best usage of your time? How do we take your life, your goals, pair them together, get results? And I look forward to doing that, with whoever the clients end up being that end up coming through. That now that I'm working with Marcus Friesen through the Friesen method stuff.
You talk about training, and you and I had a brief kind of chat about this before. Yeah, I'll go back and I think it was on a Running Public episode. I heard Hunter on there, and he was talking about kind of strength requirements of someone to do well at Hyrox. And I remember stuff like 400 plus pound deadlift and a 300-pound squat and what this and whatnot. And
Yeah,
I'm not trying to put you down or nothing, but I know your strength numbers are not what you would call jacked through the roof. You're
not at
you're
all.
you know you're that muscular endurance cardio machine. Do you think people like you and I mentioned before when we were talking, Linda Meyer, are kind of changing what people think is a strength requirement to get through High Rocks to do well at it?
Yeah, I think so. I think the way that the sport has moved, the sleds have gotten a little quicker.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then none of the other components of it are really that, you don't. if you practice heavy lunges, you'll handle 66 pounds.
Mhm.
If you do if you do some front squat work, some goblet squat work, and wall balls, you can handle the wall balls. Um, farmer's carry, just just hold heavy shit for a little while. It's not that hard, you know. Even if, like, if you just do long skis, that builds up your forearms. Like, you have to grip those handles. Go ski for an hour and finish and see how your forearms feel.
Yeah.
You know, you'll be fine with those 70-pound kettlebells. Um, and now that the sleds aren't to the point, and particularly like even early on, I was moving the sleds okay.
Yeah.
It if you don't have to have that specific squat, bench, deadlift strength, you know. I have a okay deadlift for my height and size. You know, I can pull in the 360, I believe is the best I've ever pulled. Um, right now, maybe 335. You know, my squat's probably 240, and I don't bench but maybe 175. So, like, all around, those numbers right there wouldn't impress anybody. Um, but it's about the specific strength and the specific threshold at which you can hold that level of strength. So if you're out there and you know, like, for some reason, I'm really good at pushing sleds. All right, I can push sleds way better than I can squat. This is a sled pushing sport. I don't consider myself, honestly, I was thinking about it today. I don't know if I am a hybrid athlete. I'm a Hyrox athlete. I think if you take me and put me in different realms, like I can do DECA stuff, yeah. But I mean, if you're like, all right, Dylan, we're doing overhead squats and CrossFit kind of movements, I'm gonna get killed. I think that I'm diversified and specialized at the same time. Um, and so with that, I think that you can come into the sport and train those specific movements, which I think are easier on your body, just because they're not skeletally loading everything. You don't have nearly as much. You don't have nearly as much just stress overall.
Bethany and I were talking about this the other day. You don't hear of a lot of Hyrox injuries.
No, if you get them, normally if you hear of a Hyrox injury, it came from running.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of the time it's like, I was running, I picked up patella tendinopathy, or now I got Achilles tendinosis, or I got IT band problems.
Yeah.
Anytime you hear it, it's just from somebody who's tried to ramp the running up a little too quick or something like that. Which is why I try not to run that much. Like I'm sitting here, I'm icing my leg right now just because the inside of this calf right here is hurting a little bit from running higher mileage than I normally do. So, um, I think that the way that Hyrox is structured, you can train all of the components that you need to train for it from a physiological standpoint with less detriment to the body overall than if you were to be super specific to one sport, or if you were to be doing a lot of conventional lifting.
Yeah. See, you say you don't know if you're a hybrid athlete. I personally think there's a difference. And I mean, they're big on phrases and coining phrases and whatnot. I think there's a difference between a hybrid athlete and a hybrid racer. And you are a hybrid racer, right?
Yeah.
Hybrid athletes are those guys, maybe like Jack D, who, deadlift 500 pounds and then run a 5 minute mile, right? And that's cool. That's
Yeah.
right. He is. In my mind, that's why I say, but there's a difference. And when we get into the rankings of hybrid athletes from the top 20, right? And when I do my voting, I'm voting on a hybrid racer
That's fair.
because
You're
that's
voting,
what, yeah,
if you're voting for hybrid racers within what is, racing, then yeah, that makes sense. If you were just asking like, oh, who's the guy that we could throw anything at, I don't put me high on that list.
no. And you know what? If we're talking that, I mean, 90% is going to go to CrossFitters. You're going to go to Jeff Adler and Pat Villner and Justin Medeiros and those guys and get people like that, right? That's 90% of it. But they, in my mind, they are hybrid athletes, but a hybrid racer, someone different. Hybrid racer, someone who does high rocks. Maybe someone who runs the Murph. Maybe someone who does, like that. Those are hybrid racers, and it's a different thing in my mind. So that's
I,
where, yeah, that's where I think you and that. But yeah, I think you and Linda are definitely changing people's mindset about what is necessary for strength requirements to do high rocks. Because I remember in the beginning, everybody's like, oh, you gotta be so strong, you gotta be so strong. And I remember them listing the weights, and I'm like, it's not that heavy. Like I know the sleds were a bugger with the way they were set up with the friction and the
yeah,
long ropes and the extra the slack in them, but shit wasn't that heavy. And I'm like, I'm a reasonably strong guy. I'm not top of the top by any stretch. I have some old man strength. And I'm
you
like,
do.
I'm not gonna have an issue with any of the strength on that stuff, and I don't think I need to up my actual strength capacity. So yeah, I think if you're out there and you're thinking I'm not strong enough to run a high rocks, you probably are. You just need to run more.
Yeah. Hey, let me grab a charger real quick.
You want to start doing your coaching again, which I think is
Mhm.
great. And by the way, would be like on my top of list of people that I would go to for coaching. I mean, I love the way you train. I'm a Metcon guy.
Yeah.
I love, the long Metcons is great. It's fantastic. Um, are you already doing that with Marcus, or are you
Yeah,
just
so we're really getting started like right now. Tomorrow I'll spend a little bit of time with him just one on one. I've already messed around within the system that we'll use, and it'll just be going over a little bit from a I guess from a usage standpoint on just setting up calls and stuff like that. It's really more on the back end, figuring things out within that system. But I've already worked within it. I know how to program in there with people and work with folks. So honestly, I'll probably start with folks next week, I would assume.
nice, nice. That's exciting. That is like I said, I'm glad you're doing it. I would recommend you to anybody. Um, and not to be afraid.
Yeah. I mean, I would
You got a
say,
reputation, man.
say what?
You got a reputation. People get nervous.
I know, and that's what I was talking with Paul Gillingham earlier, and he was sent me a message about it. And I was like, "Yep, 3 hour Metcons for everybody." Like, and then I was just like, "That's probably what people think." But in all honesty, you know, I know how to coach and train people. I'm not going to send you through just like a meat grinder and be like, all right, we're going to throw eggs at the wall and see which ones don't crack. Um, that doesn't work. Um, that just gets people hurt. And so what I told him, like coming on as a coach, I still I have a full time job. I work outside of this. It doesn't seem like it. People are like, how you train all the time? I'm like, I have no life outside of training, work, and then um, but I was like, I'll take on, 10, 15 people, limited capacity, and just start honing in on, all right, what results can I get from just that small group? Um, and see where we can go from there.
Nice, nice. Well, anything else you wanna mention, or anyone you need to thank, or like you say, Dylan had a very empty spot on his shirt there. Could have used a big sponsor for all that TV time he had going there. So
Yeah, no, I think I guess really from a sponsor standpoint, just as always, Powerlift. I just want to say thanks to them. They've been super supportive. They just put out like their new graphics from that photo shoot and everything that they did with all out there at the Powerlift booth. So
cool.
pretty cool to be just posted up on that. They're a great sponsor and a great company, and really I like working with them. And then as always, people I thank, family, friends, anybody who sent me messages before or after the race. Uh, the folks that believed in me and even the ones who didn't. Um, you know, and that's about it, man.
Awesome, man. And Power Left to come to Canada. We're still waiting. I keep having to sneak shit across the border. It's getting inconvenient.
Oh, all right. Well, let me know if you need me to smuggle some stuff for you.
Absolutely. Well, you got to come to the Toronto High Rocks, man. That's going to be the big one. I think I'm gonna have like 96 people held up in my basement.
I've been discussing that. I know that's early October,
Yeah,
October
yeah,
5th.
yeah.
October 5th. Yeah, I've been talking. So October 1st is our anniversary. And so maybe we parlay an anniversary trip and do like
Niagara
a mix.
Falls. It's like 90 minutes from Toronto. Beautiful
Go
place.
up there. We race a mixed doubles together. I come
Oh,
back race pro later, and then just like have a great day.
it's like sheer romance right there.
Yeah, it is love. It is love. All right, this is quick. This is very fast to end things off. So the picture on my phone of my wife is she and I were just carrying 2 logs. All right, it through the woods. So when we first started like talking and dating, I was training for Spartan stuff, and I was like, "Hey, I gotta go do like a burden carry for a while. Like, you want to just come with me?" And so we went out to the woods. I picked up like a 60-pound log. I was like, "You can grab one if you want one." And we just hiked through the woods carrying logs and talking. And that was kind of when I knew. I was like, oh yeah, we'll get married.
All right, so you've answered David Goggins' questions. We know who's going to carry the logs.
Yeah, I'm gonna carry the logs, not the boats. We got the logs, not the boats.
All right, Dylan. Thanks so much, man. Congrats, and we can't wait to see you just smash it in France.
All right, I'll do my best, buddy. Thank you so much, Dave.